All right, folks, welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's premier paranormal preparedness podcast. My name is Jordan Dahl.
I am Nate Balding.
I am Roger Pigman X Norquist.
Today's episode of Werewolf Radar is brought to you by Monstroco Mountain Don't, a carbonated beverage of blackest night you simply shouldn't. Mountain Don't from Monstroco.
But what if I do?
Don't.
D-E-W or D-O?
See, this
Because
is...
one of them is infringing on other people's IP.
They didn't give me any specific copy other than what I just read, but the whole vibe of Mountain Don't has a we shouldn't be talking about this, redacted, don't touch on this in public kind of vibe. So I already feel like we're talking too much about it.
That's fair. Just to let them know, I am interested because you know that black liquid in X-Files?
Yeah.
I always wondered what that tasted like.
That is... Don't worry, you'll find out. You'll find out. Mountain Don't from Monstroco. I want to talk to you guys about the Great Red Ape.
Wait,
Alrighty.
never heard of it.
Great Red Ape. I'd never heard of it either. And in fact, there's a picture. So hold off on sharing the picture, anybody, until we've talked about it a little bit. This is from the Encyclopedia of Cryptozoology at cryptidarchives.fandom.com. We love them over there at fandom.com. Great work, everybody. The Great Red Ape was a crypto-hominid reported from the rainforests of the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, specifically the Chibinda rainforest, west of Lake Kivu in the Ituri rainforest. It was originally described by Attilio Gatti, who distinguished it from the black and white mulahu of the Ituri. I don't know what that is, but I think it might be a different cryptid. Different accounts variably described it as either a giant red gorilla or a large bipedal homininan. Homininan is the word they use, but I think they mean like hominid.
Hominid? Yeah.
Yeah. Homininan. Anyway, yeah, stumbled across the story of the Great Red Ape on Reddit and pulled a couple of strings on the internet. I actually saw the picture first, and I tracked down this article. So there's a section on attestations and on sightings and on theories, and we'll go through all of these, and then we'll have a look at the picture, and then my segment will be done.
I like it.
Attestations. Most information concerning the Great Red Ape was collected by Italian explorer Attilio Gatti, who allegedly first heard of it during a gorilla hunting expedition to the Chibinda rainforest, where several record gorillas, Gorilla Beringii, had been shot. In 1932, a local Twa witch doctor named Katumbele told him that a piece of hairy red hide in his possession belonged to a giant red gorilla, which had been killed by his father in the remote rainforest. Katumbele was eventually convinced to lead Gotti to the area where the red gorillas have been killed. Take me to the temple of the red gorilla, Katumbele.
What a
Probably
weird
said.
thing that was said.
But he was Italian, so he was like, take me to the temple of the red gorilla.
Grazie.
Mm-hmm. He's spinning a pizza. Anyway, you get it. Gotti was obliged to abort the expedition due to illness. He got the jungle sickness.
Malaria.
AKA
Probably,
the butt terribles.
I want to drink from this pond.
Don't tell me what I can and can't drink. That's not Italian. Anyway. Gotti, after further inquiries, Gotti regarded the giant ape as significantly less and less gorilla-like. According to his later account, other Twa informants described the animal as an obligate biped, more man than gorilla. The Twa regarded it as both extremely strong and highly intelligent. The Mbuti of the Ituri rainforest also gave Gotti detailed accounts of a, quote, gigantic man covered with long red hair, dwelling in the deep rainforest. Gotti distinguished this primate from the giant mulahu of the Ituri, who reportedly had long black and white hair, reddish black in Gotti's own claimed sighting. Okay, so Gotti claims to have seen the mulahu.
It brings up, what is that thing called? Orang Pendek vibes?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
Malang Pendek. Mulahu cryptid. Let's look up the mulahu real quick.
Look it up.
It's also kind of sounding like a wild man account.
Truly.
Mm-hmm.
This is from a different page. The black and white ape was a cryptid ape reported by the Ituri rainforest in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It was
Somehow
described
disappeared, assumed extinct after Kodak started making color film.
It's described as a big animal with a coat of long hair, black on the back and white on the rest of the body. So imagine like a reverse gorilla. You know how they get silverback?
Mm-hmm. The
Other way
black back.
around. Yeah.
Silver tongue.
Anyone who sees it is said to die in atrocious agony.
Oh, Jesus.
Like the grave nugget, where it's just their energy, just like, nope, I'm done for.
I don't know. It doesn't go into it anymore. The Malahu will have
I
to
like a
look up
cryptid with
more.
psychic attack, though.
Here's some alleged sightings of the Great Red Ape. 1903, a longtime European resident of the Lake Kivu region told Gotti that a red ape of the Haman variety had been killed about 20 years beforehand. It had attacked a party of Twa hunters who shot it to death with poisoned arrows. The local Belgian administrator reportedly saw the carcass, which in his absence was quickly burned by a missionary who, quote, feared that it might be considered a proof of the Darwin theory.
I guess.
So he saw it and was like, okay, so that's an ape man. We gotta get rid of this.
We gotta get rid of this, or it's gonna take control.
Although, I gotta say, have you ever looked into the eyes of a gorilla?
Yeah, they're human.
Sure. Yeah.
Imagine doing it for the first time
Oh,
and being like, that's a guy. I don't know. That's a guy.
I feel that way anytime I go to the zoo and hang out with the orangutans or the
Orangutans,
gorillas, and
too.
I'm like, you guys have the same hands and everything as us.
Yeah.
How can we
But-
get you a credit card in your dreams?
Well, that's the thing is that I think once you work with them, you start to realize like, oh, you can't have a credit card. At first brush, you're like, you're more man than ape. And then the more you work with him, you're like, no, ape's pretty much in control here.
I do get that though. The first time you see it and go like, you have all my features.
Truly.
You have to be as intelligent as I. And then yeah, you're hanging out with
And
him.
then
You're like,
open
oh,
the door.
you
and it
really just
pulls
like
your head
smashing
off.
clams with rocks and eating said clams.
Oh God, I love it.
Although I do like the idea that the new Planet of the Apes movies ongoing will be about debt forgiveness.
I do want to see the one that happens in 500 years where they've fully got like like apartments and shitty jobs, and then the humans rise up and it's Planet of the Humans, and around and
Yeah.
around we go. Anyway,
That was the original Rod Serling script had that. That's what it was. Is it was a full-on human society, but they were apes.
Dang, Rod, genius.
Yeah. Then Dana Gould adapted it into a graphic novel. It's quite good.
Oh, really? Fuck.
Yeah.
I want to see that. Okay, another sighting before 1932. Gotti first learned of the red ape in 1932 while examining the possessions of a Twa witch doctor, Katumbele, at the camp in the Chipinda forest. Gotti claimed that he had discovered an unidentifiable piece of hide among various specimens owned by Katumbele. The skin itself resembled that of an ordinary gorilla, as did the length and coarse consistency of the hair, but the color was described by Gotti as, quote, the vivid shade of red of a red-haired man.
So it's
Gotti.
really red.
Yeah. Gotti, who was unable to match the hair to any known animal, eventually prevailed upon the reticent Katumbele to explain the specimen's provenance. According to Katumbele's account, in his youth, his father had led a hunting expedition into the rainforest to the west, a region unexplored by the Twa. Here, they reportedly encountered a family of gorillas feeding in a small bamboo thicket. They were significantly larger than any gorillas previously seen by the hunters and were covered in, quote, brilliant red hair. The hunters decided to kill one of the gorillas, and each man retrieved a piece of its skin. Katumbele inherited his father's piece upon the latter's death. It's Katumbele's account. 1907 to 1930, according to his memoir, L'Appel de la Brousse, Belgian colonial administrator Fernand Wilmette killed a giant red gorilla near Walikale in the Kivu province. During an official visit to the territory, Warega villagers informed him that a, quote, mahogany red gorilla known as the Gilamukose were devastating their banana plantations. Knowing that such animals would be completely new to zoologists, Wilmette initially planned to capture a young specimen alive. However, when, after several failed attempts at searching for the gorillas, he encountered an adult male, he shot it in what he perceived as self-defense, and his Warega guide speared it to death. Wilmette claimed that his specimen measured 2 meters, 10 centimeters, about 6 foot 8 inches, 15 centimeters taller than the record gorilla, which was shot at nearby Alimbongo in 1938. It was covered in red hair, which was particularly long on the head and shoulders. Although he photographed it in monochrome and retained the skull, the humid rainforest climate made it impossible for him to preserve the skin. And that's the picture. I'm going to show you guys the picture right now.
Yeah. Show us the skin, Jordan.
Let's see if I can find a bigger one, actually.
I want to know, and this picture will show me, of course, if I can wear the skin.
Well, maybe.
Because I've always dreamed about doing something really weird.
You're doing it, pal.
Oh.
Why can't I make it bigger? Well, so this is the picture of the alleged red ape.
Ooh. So I could wear the suit.
Yes, it looks a lot like a gorilla to me.
But this is a black and white photo.
This is a black and white photo. It does look light, like around it, the hair around the eye and the cheekbone there looks like it blends in with the face in a very kind of light colored way, which would imply a lighter hair color like red.
And when you see dark-haired gorillas all day long, any bit of red is going to go, no, that thing was fucking red. The red one, not the other ones. You'll know.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. They got a picture of him.
I mean, they got a body.
They got a body. The body did not survive, but apparently the skull survived. I'll try to find out what happened to that.
Find us the skull, Jordan. Let me measure the skull.
We have a theories section on the cryptidarchives.fandom.com page. It says Gotti claimed that on first hearing reports of the red apes, he assumed they referred to aberrant gorillas of the known species, analogous to extremely rare white albino gorillas.
Yeah.
The occurrence of unusual red pigmentation in animals is known as erythrism. However, he later expressed his belief that the red ape was a distinct taxon distinguished from the gorilla by its larger size, red coat, and bipedalism. Based on Gotti's original account, primatologists Jeffrey H. Bourne and Cohen Maury wrote that the red ape is presumably a gorilla, and therefore, quote, a variety or species completely unknown, which they believed is very unlikely to exist.
You said that about the gorilla the first time.
It's true. My man. Yes, indeed. So there you go. That is my segment that I am calling the Great Red segment. And I now polish up the speaking skull, which is from a hominin of some sort. I don't know that you could say fully human, but I will take my eyes off of it for just a second. And it should have appeared with one of you guys.
Oh, I have it. And it's new. This must be from the redacted catacombs.
Yeah. We made it canon last week that you were out there finding new skulls because ours was all dented up.
Yeah, in fact, we got rid of it last week.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We sent it to we sent it upstate to a nice farm.
Where with other skulls where it can run and play in the skull fields.
Exactly.
I should have taken it back to the catacombs.
Yeah, we should have hashed that out before you left, but I think we came to something good.
I mean, I hope
It's
so. It seemed pretty malevolent. I'd be surprised if it leaves us alone.
it's being used by a wizarding farmer to grow better crops right now. It's fine.
He's growing the bone trees.
All right, let me do some clicking. So as we all know, I got the creative itch because I don't perform anymore, and I'm like, you know what do I do with this energy? And I'm making a video game for the Werewolf Radar people, and maybe selling on the Steam one day.
Hell yeah.
It's gotten me obsessed with video games, so I
Okay.
looked up some cases to where the video games be haunted.
Ooh,
Alrighty.
you know I love this particular flavor of bat shit.
Indeed, I'm gonna call it Roger's digital bullshit.
Have you guys seen the menu
Yeah.
where he has the guy make his dish and calls it Tyler's bullshit?
No, but I got to. No,
very
I'm gonna
funny.
call this segment Haunted Horace, a main
Oh.
character of a video game I made up.
Oh, Haunted Horace, a main character of a video game you made up.
Yeah, not
Sounds
the video
intriguing.
game I'm making, but a video game I made up because I couldn't think of video game characters named
Okay.
H.
Okay. How about Gigabyte My Ass?
We'll have that edited
Yeah,
by
we'll
Monday.
come up with something. We'll come up with something.
So the first game I want to talk to you about is a legitimate video game with kind of that, what was it called? Polybius?
Polybius.
Polybius.
Polybius. The game Berserk is a real game inspired by Frank Saberhagen's Berserker novel series. This part is also from Screen Rant. Berserk is
the
a
manga?
No. That's Berserk about guts. This is the Berserker novel series called Berserk.
All right. It's a fine line.
Have fun Googling this one.
Hey, stop saying Berserk in here.
So, Berserk is a 1980 arcade multi-directional shooter maze game, and I have a picture of it to show because that sentence was probably chaos.
Here's a tough one.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah, I'm picturing like a Smash TV meets Gauntlets, but with
Yes.
fewer bits.
Yes,
This
yes.
is kind of what I was picturing.
Yes. As we read here, multi-directional shooter maze game, one of the first to use speech synthesis, which
Oh.
was really expensive at the time. I don't know what that quite is. We're moving on. As a human stick figure, the player runs through the maze, kills robots, and avoids an indestructible smiley face known as Evil Otto.
All right. It sounds pretty rad.
Yeah, sounds like a generally like fun early concept game that I'm sure
I think speech synthesis was like
them making a sound like a
again kind
yeah.
of voice.
So besides talking robots, the game was also known for spawning one of the first video game urban legends we're getting into. According to the legend, if a player managed to reach a certain level, Evil Otto would kill them
Oh boy.
in real life. In the game first and then in real life.
That's a pretty cool script idea.
This story originated from the fact that two people coincidentally died around the arcade machine.
Sheesh.
However, this is just an urban legend that's been conflated. The articles about them, both were published from the Chicago Tribune. One died because they had heart problems. So, maybe Evil Otto did get them.
Right,
Hmm.
right.
And then the other was stabbed during an altercation while playing.
Boy, that is either some real commitment to that game, or some real commitment to stabbing somebody.
But I was looking for like legitimate haunted games.
Yeah.
Shit that can't truly be described. Although when you're talking
Sure,
video
right.
games, all of this can be described as glitches.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the glitch is tight, man.
But
If you're familiar with the horror movie Unfriended.
This is like an even more interactive Ringu.
Sure.
Yes. So I, of course, went to Reddit. I went to the
The most
creepy
reliable
gaming
source on the
moments
internet.
where people were a total underscore monitor 912 was asking for true creepy gaming stories. They were looking for not programmed things, but like legitimate. This was creepy. I don't know how to explain this.
Yeah.
Not
Crazy.
stories where it's just like I was playing my games downstairs and my mom and her new boyfriend was upstairs and they were doing stuff that I could hear so well that I know what she likes now and I'm fucking creeped out.
Yeah, this is slightly like that, but not
All right, hit
so
us.
graphic. From Valdoc to 12,
Uh-huh.
this happens 1998-99. They had demo discs from the official PlayStation magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Their friend and them were in their room and they were going through the demos,
I
and
used
one
to
of them
live for those
was
fucking demo discs.
those demo discs were phenomenal. One of them, and I'm going to share the image, was the Rugrats PS1 demo that looked like this,
Oh wow.
Whoa.
which
That
is a horror
is
story on its own. What was
yeah,
that,
boy.
Chucky? Look at Chucky's eyes.
Oh,
And I know
Chucky.
he's missing glasses, so that's what
He's
his
been
eyes
missing
look
his
like.
glasses. Oh, we got to help Chucky find his
We
glasses.
have to help Chucky find his glasses.
He can't see without his glasses.
So they're playing this game. As soon as it starts, the sound is messed up. It was very low, and if you turned it up, you could hear what was the sound of the speakers, and everything was muffled. So we turned the volume back down and started playing. A few random parts of the demo did have sound, and random sound effects or a piece of the music would play for just a second, and then we would jump. But we mostly just thought something was wrong with the demo or the super old TV was about to die. You know, skeptical mindset. My mom called us, and we both had to go to the other side of the house for maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And when we got back, the TV was off, and we knew it had just burnt up. You know, it was the old TV. This was going to die. It finally did. It's time for a new TV, baby. But then my friend noticed that it was unplugged. No one else was in the house except for my sister, but she was with my mom the whole time, and we both found it freaky that the TV somehow became unplugged while we were gone, since it was under a desk that was beside my TV stand and well out of the way. Once we plugged it back in, we noticed the PlayStation was off, and we powered it back on, and the sound worked just fine. We went to check the Rugrats demo, and no picture, just muffled sound if we turned up the volume, but a black screen. No disc read errors would ever pop up. We would hit the restart button, but it would do nothing. I think that's a creepy one, haunted. I'm going to say yes, but what do you two think? I think that's
I've,
a
uh,
weird circumstance. You have a lot of weird stuff, and I'm already predisposed to believe in the paranormal when playing video games.
I have a very 1990s B movie theory.
Sure, hit us with
Uh,
it.
so the Rugrats game was trapped in there. It was sentient, okay?
Oh boy.
And it was trying to talk. That's what the muffled noise was. It's the game trying to communicate to you that it needs to get out. And what happened when no one was there was it figured out that it could use the TV it was connected to travel into the electronic system like shocker. And that's
Wow.
why, and as soon as it traveled into the wall outlet, that popped out the plug.
I mean, that explains it to me.
I'm fine with that. You guys know about Lavender Town and the horrors
Gonna
within.
blast past the shocker, huh?
Hell no, I'm trying to get it proper. But
Yeah.
I have the wrong image selected. There we go. This isn't exactly your
Yes, I've heard about this one.
well, not the one you're thinking about, maybe.
Maybe.
So you have a few things about Lavender Town. You have the Lavender Town song, I think, which causes Lavender Town syndrome that makes you kill yourself or something, or drive you mad, something to that effect.
Sure.
1998, once again, Lavender Town, if you aren't familiar with the generation, is your red versus blue, your generation one.
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
So in the UK, they did not have it released yet. So they grabbed a US ROM on a floppy disk. I was making my way through Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, got a wild Pokemon encounter in the tower, and after the alert jingle and the screen wipe, the battle didn't load, and the entire screen went blood red for 5 seconds. Resumed a normal battle with a haunter afterwards.
Hmm.
Oh, so the haunter, no less.
Yeah. Well, it's in the tower. It's all
Okay,
ghosts.
fair
This
enough. Yeah.
this poster, Cardboard Fox, does assume that it is a emulator bug, as you know, nothing was stable in 1998 when it came to
Sure.
emulating like modern games.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also go, was this a ghost? It stuck with them for years. For what is that? Nearly 30 years now this has stuck with them.
Yeah, that's a long time for I was using a weird version of this video game.
Yeah.
It was ripped to a floppy disk.
That's some true shit, man. I couldn't imagine not being American. To where I get games first typically, you know, it's different now, but like back in the day, we got games first and people had to wait.
Man, I was one of those people. We would get stuff. We would get stuff a long time after you guys because I grew up in Scotland.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It makes for some truly hilarious shit. Right before I moved here, we had heard tell of the Super Nintendo, and I was like 6, 7 maybe. And it sounded so fake. Like there was one American kid in our school, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, and Mario rides a dinosaur, and the dinosaur can eat berries, and he lays eggs." And you're like, "What? This is fucking insane, dude." And he was like, "And the controller, it's got 4 buttons." It sounded like something a kid would make up, you know?
Yeah, like
And,
trying to impress you to be like one extra
and it was
than
yeah,
the
exactly.
NES.
One more. And it was all true. It was all true. When I got here, I was like, fuck. It was wild.
It's all real.
Yeah.
If you like true crime, there's a great story that I'm going to skip over, but it involves a kid a little bit too obsessed with Sephiroth.
Oh no, does he get a sword that he shouldn't have?
He does.
Jesus
boy.
Christ.
This one is from Fluff Cake Chan. I remember as a kid getting a weird glitch on the Super Mario Brothers DS. Everything was fine until I reached the ghost level from the forest world, and then the top screen went completely dark, and I couldn't tell what was happening until Mario died. After that creepy experience, I decided to try out another level, and the top screen was still black, but now a large brown square was there as well. It moved too. I couldn't tell if it was Mario or an entity chasing him. The music was the ghost house as well, and the little map on the bottom was replaced with ghost like the ghost level should be. But it was a different level and not a ghost one. Mario died shortly after that, and I noped out of the entire area and played World 2 instead. Now I want to talk to us about, so you know that T-pose?
Kind of? Oh yeah, with that like
I'm gonna bring up a picture of it. Also, if you're listening to the podcast,
Oh, right.
this, our YouTube is where we are trying to hit hard. So we're making it more of a show.
Come to YouTube. Visuals. It's the new TV.
We're almost to 1,000 subscribers.
Damn.
Thank
you all. Doing things that are visually interesting.
And
all
this
right,
is fucking
get them out, fellas.
Also, if you hold control and scroll, it zooms into the picture.
Control and scroll. That's what I needed. Where was that?
I just found out.
Bill Gates.
So this is the T-pose, and it happens in a number of games. People truly think it is a programming error, but it happens across engine. Not that, and I'm new to learning programming of this type, scripting, blah, blah, blah. There's tons of reasons this can happen. but it's weird to have the same thing happen on different systems using different engines across generations.
Yeah, that's pretty
Right. They
weird.
usually get those things
Well, I
knocked
mean,
out.
are there files that look like that in the games?
How these are being created are it is not a asset, it is a model being forced to do the T screen. It is moving its arms up like that. It is floating instead of walking. Its head is following you or its eyes are following you.
Huh.
Let's go into examples where it happens.
Yeah.
Jack and
I'm for
Daxter 1.
sure I've seen those guys before.
Jack and Daxter 1, PS4 specifically, is the post from Rage Spot. Rage's Pot?
Sure.
All right, sure.
Rage Spot.
I was at the beginning on the first island. I went into the house that a cutscene starts with the Chief, Jack, and Daxter, but instead of starting the cutscene, they were standing there T-posing, looking right at the camera, and their eyes were blinking as if they were waiting for my reaction.
That is creepy. Straight down the barrel.
I said nope and reset the PS4.
Could it be one of those things where when you leave them for long enough, they're like, hey, come on. What are we sitting around for?
It could be. I have one example of that being programmed.
Now, how many of these are from CD Projekt Red? Because a lot of shit went down in Cyberpunk 2077.
Ugh, for real, right? Some horrific AI from beyond the black wall.
It happens. It happens. But this is like a reoccurring thing, you know? We don't have that fun black wall stuff. For an example of stuff happening that I think is programmed in there, one of the posters was playing Star Fox Assault multiplayer, which is a game I had no idea existed, and I'm trying to find now as hard as I can.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Her sister and her were playing. This is from Ratarang Sky Pirate. One was Fox, one was Wolf, and we put down our controllers for some reason. We were still sitting there talking, looking away from the screen. When they looked back, Fox was spinning rapidly, and a wolf was jumping around him in circles. So that, I believe, is an example of when you let the programming just go. It has like a wait mode to where it's like, well, if you're just putting it down with the controller, we're going to have some fun. This next one might not be so much, just like the Jack and Daxter one. It happens in the game Oblivion for this one poster and keeps happening as well. And we all know Oblivion, Bethesda games especially, Project Red games, you know, Cyberpunk, they're filled with glitches. That's half of the fun.
You can be inside a wall for a long time.
For a long time. Sneaking that way, too. So they had a copy of Oblivion, PS3, and also console games, please correct me if I'm wrong, are a little bit less broken than the PC games. Although not exactly with these, but like I noticed PC games, there's more ways to break them than there are console games.
Right.
They believe that this is like a cursed copy. Anytime you kill something and then moved out of the area, and this happened on Oblivion anytime they loaded it. So you would kill them, and then they would leave at, you know, you go into a shop, kill the shopkeep, take their stuff, exit, you know, return because it turns out they also had a gem you were looking for and you have to grab it. When you went back into the area, it would follow you, looking at you in the T pose.
Yikes. That's
Ooh.
upsetting.
Yeah.
And then when you returned again, they wouldn't follow you, but would turn in your direction. Once they were T-posed, you could not do anything to them. They were essentially a video game ghost.
Yeah, and they knew what you'd done.
They knew your sins, boy. That I have for the last of my segment, creepy gaming, where play it in the light, everyone.
Nice.
I'm bad with names.
This is pretty good. It's like Haunted Horatio or whatever.
That's a better one. I was just say, thinking about being inside walls makes me want to create a cursed game called Frogger.
but it's not Froggers, you know it. It's frogging as in you live inside somebody's
Gross.
walls and
That's
have to
upsetting.
avoid them.
Let me tell you
Ugh.
how there's a lot of free video game engines that you can build this game on, and
You
I
have to
guarantee
sneak
you
out
that will
in the
sell at least
night
one copy.
and go into the kitchen and get like night pickles.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
dude. And then like it's
Oh, you
kind of
could
like
call it night pickles.
it's kind of like reverse Stardew Valley, to where like you're allowed to go wherever you want from the hours of 3 to 5.
Yeah, yeah.
You can
Then you gotta get back into the wall.
listen to two roommates arguing because a bunch of food of one of theirs is missing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're the only one that knows
Yeah, yeah.
the secret.
One of the achievements is drive the roommate insane.
All right. I'm gonna leave the skull down. It goes where it wants now. And it just vanished from my sight.
Oh, it's over here in my room. So we talk about fairies
We
with
do.
fair
And
frequency.
we talk, but we never
Talk and talk and
actually
talk.
get anything
It's
done about them.
usually about specific types of fairies, that sort of
Mhm.
thing, or stories involving fairies. But I don't think we've ever like just talked about fairies. Like, what the fuck is a fairy?
Okay, hit
So
me.
this is going to be a segment, and because I ended up going into a crazy ass rabbit hole, this will be the overview kind of what will probably be a returning much longer segment, possibly.
Nice.
At some point.
Love it.
Okay,
That
love it.
I guess we'll call it fairies. What the fuck are they?
What the fuck are they? Oh
This
boy.
is coming from a handful of websites, but firsty, we're gonna just jump to the basic your Wikipedia's, which defines it essentially as a type of mythical being or legendary creature, generally described as anthropomorphic, found in folklore in multiple European cultures. Although that is definitely not necessarily. They are found in every culture on Earth, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But a form of spirit, often with metaphysical, supernatural, or preternatural qualities.
What is the difference between supernatural and preternatural?
Supernatural is beyond natural. Preternatural, I think, is like instinctually natural.
Oh,
Like it seems bizarre to us because we can't do it,
I
but
see. Okay.
to an animal or whatever, it just is part of their nature.
Okay.
Interesting.
Myths and stories do not have a single origin, but are rather a collection of folk beliefs from disparate sources. Various folk theories about the origins of fairies include casting them as either demoted angels, demons, we'll get into this, pagan deities, spirits of the dead, etc. Usually magical creatures with human appearances, magical powers, and a penchant for trickery.
Penchant?
At other times, it's been used to describe any magical creatures, such as goblins or gnomes. It's a fairly large umbrella, fairy, the term. Can be an adjective with the meaning equivalent to enchanted or magical, or a bit of a slur. It is also used as a name for the place the beings come from, the land of fairy. And I found a website from a person who claims to be a fairy, and they talk extensively about their encounters in fairy.
Wait, you have a friend who went there?
No, it's a website where a
Oh,
person has friends
Oh,
Who have entered.
who are fae.
interesting.
Yes, like I went pretty deep into some stuff. Did you know there's a fae magazine?
I heard there were a few.
Etymologically, fairies probably sort of originate in Old England, although this also the term would include Germanic and Scandinavian elves. There's definitely older Latin things that I think we would
Sure.
describe as fey creatures at this point. But as far as I can tell from this, the origin of fairies from historic UK, it says that the oldest fairies on record in England were first described by the historian Gervase of Tilbury in the 13th century, which seems late to me, but I feel like isn't the fairy queen slightly earlier? Maybe not. Brownies and other hobgoblins are guardian fairies. They are useful ones and do housework and odd jobs around the house, which, yeah, you'd call that housework, I suppose. You didn't need to say it once. In Aberdeenshire, Scotland, looking at you, Jordan.
That's exactly where I'm from.
Congratulations.
They are hideous to look at. They have no separate toes or fingers, and in the Scottish lowlands, they have a hole instead of a nose,
Oh,
which is a much
They're just
much
like
more
flippers.
Just one
Yeah,
nostril.
much more frightening fairy than I think we're used to. Banshees are less common and more sinister. They usually only appear to foretell a tragedy. In Highland tradition, the washer by the ford, a web-footed, one-nostriled, buck-toothed hag, is
Whoa.
only seen washing blood-stained clothes when men are about to meet a violent death.
Oh boy.
Goblins and bugaboos, always malignant. Avoid them if possible.
It sounded like
Hmm.
a Misfits song.
Goblins and bugaboos, always malignant. Most of the nature fairies are perhaps descendants of pre-Christian gods and goddesses or are the spirits of trees and streams. But let's jump back over to Wikipedia and take a look at their section on origins, because there is no real specific origin for these things. There's a bunch of them that we can go over, and you can decide to, attach these to fairies that you meet as you assume. In the folklore of Ireland, the mythic Aesheed, or people of the fairy hills, have come to a modern meaning somewhat inclusive of fairies. Again, Scandinavian elves also served as an influence. Folklorists and mythologists variously depicted fairies as the unworthy dead, the children of Eve, a kind of demon, species of independent of humans, an older race of humans, and fallen angels. So this first one we're going to get to is the demoted angel. A Christian tenet held that fairies were a class of demoted angels. One story described a group of angels revolting and God ordering the gates of heaven shut. Those still in heaven remained angels, those in hell became demons, and those caught in between became fairies.
This feels like a Christian wash of the whole situation.
It really does.
But yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
If the first one in recorded print is in England in the 13th century, they'd be well into, a fully Christian
Sure, but maybe
mythology
this
for
is
everything.
maybe
But
this
yeah,
is
it
just
seems like
describing through that lens something that
there surely
happened.
was some kind of folk tradition predating it. Others wrote that some angels, not being godly enough yet not evil enough for hell, were thrown out of heaven. This concept may explain the tradition of playing a tained or tithe to hell. As fallen angels, although not quite devils, they could be viewed as subjects of Satan. King James I, back in here with his dissertation Demonology, total fucking psychopath, King James I, stated the term fairies referred to illusory spirits or demonic entities that prophesied to
Illusory.
consorted with, illusory. Yeah, there you can kind of see through them.
Oh, I didn't hear the A too. I thought you call fairies a bunch of losers, and I was all like, I'm not with Nate right now.
Oh, illusory. But I mean, they could be illusory. They weren't good enough for heaven, and they're not bad enough for hell. Pick a fucking lane.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Prophesied to, consorted with, and transported the individuals they served. In medieval times, a witch or sorcerer who had a pact with a familiar spirit might receive these services. England's theosophist circles of the 19th century, a belief in the angelic nature of fairies was reported. Entities referred to as devas, which is Indian, so I mean,
Pick another lane.
there's certainly everywhere around the world you're going to find something of the fairy nature. Were said to guide many processes of nature, such as evolution of organisms, growth of plants, etc., many of which resided inside the sun as solar angels. The more earthbound devas included nature spirits, elementals, and fairies, which were described as appearing in the form of colored flames roughly the size of a human. In Arthur Conan Doyle's 1922 book, The Coming of the Fairies, The Theosophic View of Fairies, he says of eminent theosophist E.L. Gardner had likened the fairies to butterflies whose function was to provide an essential link between the energy of the sun and the plants of the earth, describing them as having no clean-cut shape, small, hazy, and somewhat luminous clouds of color with a brighter, sparkish nucleus. Quote, that growth of a plant which we regard as the customary and inevitable result of associating the three factors of sun, seed, and soil would never take place if the fairy builders were absent.
What?
And there's a similar creature in Persian mythology called the Peri. Then we have the demoted pagan deities. At one time, it was thought that fairies were originally worshipped as deities, such as nymphs and tree spirits, when with the burgeoning predominance of the Christian church, reverence for these deities carried on, but, like you said, in a dwindling state of perceived power. Many deprecated deities of older folklore and myth were repurposed as fairies in Victorian fiction. W.B. Yeats, huge on this one. Fairies as demons. A recorded Christian belief in the 17th century cast all fairies as demons. So this is where the hobgoblin goes from being the friendly household spirit to the thing that we associate well, largely with Spider-Man anymore, probably. This
Hmm.
perspective grew more popular with the rise of Puritanism among the Reformed Church of England. Dealing with fairies was considered a form of witchcraft and punished as such. In William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, Oberon, king of the fairies, states that neither he nor his court fear the church bells, which C.S. Lewis cast as a politic dissociation from fairies, although Lewis makes it clear that he himself does not consider fairies to be demons in his chapter on the topic, The Longevi, or Long Livers, from his book, The Discarded Image. In an era of intellectual and religious upheaval, some Victorian reappraisals of mythology cast deities in general as metaphors for natural events, which was later refuted by other authors. So there was, in the Victorian era, a bunch of people were like, "Do you believe in fairies?" And the other people were like, "Yeah, but which kind of fairy?" And they were like, "Well, I'm going to write an entire fucking book saying that
Oh,
you
I'll tell
don't
you.
really believe in fairies because you're believing in the wrong fairies."
What a wild time.
Really.
The spirits of the dead, another common origin. This derived from many factors common in various folklore and myths. Same or similar tales of both ghosts and fairies. The Irish Sheeda, or origin of their term for fairies, were ancient burial mounds deemed dangerous to eat food in fairyland and Hades. The dead and fairies depicted as living underground. Diane Purkis observed an equating of fairies with the untimely dead who left unfinished lives. One tale recounted a man caught by the fairies who found that whenever he looked steadily at one, it appeared as a dead neighbor of his.
Ah,
Spooky, but at least you know them, I guess.
Yeah.
yes.
Kind of.
I guess.
This theory was among the more common traditions related, although many informants also expressed doubt. Then we get to Hildevolk, the hidden people. They're calling this an outdated theory that
Hildevolk. I know
fairy
this one.
folk, yeah, fairy folklore evolved from folk memories of a prehistoric race. It's a little bit different from what we usually talk about when we say Hildevolk. Newcomers superseded a body of earlier human or humanoid peoples, and the memories of this defeated race developed into modern conceptions of fairies. Proponents find support in the tradition of cold iron as a charm against fairies, viewed as a cultural memory of invaders with iron weapons, displacing peoples who had just stone, bone, wood, etc. at their disposal and were easily defeated. Which is interesting. Yeah, it's almost, this is, your mitochondrial memory, basically.
Yeah.
19th century archaeologists uncovered underground rooms in the Orkney Islands that resembled the Elfland described in Childe Roland, which lent additional support. In folklore, flint arrowheads from the Stone Age were attributed to the fairies as elf shot, which sounds pretty cool. While their green clothing and underground homes spoke to a need for camouflage and cover shelter from hostile humans, their magic a necessary skill for combating those with superior weaponry. In a Victorian tentative evolution, mythic cannibalism among ogres was attributed to memories of more savage races, practicing alongside superior races of more refined sensibilities.
Yeah.
Refined.
And lastly, we
I mean,
have
it sounds a little supremacist-y, but
Just a little bit, you know.
I actually just read a book yesterday. I finished it called Ogres. That was a scathing critique of essentially like patriarchy, capitalism, and supremacy.
whoa.
A theory that fairies et al. Were this is the elemental theory. A theory that fairies et al. Were intelligent species distinct from humans and angels. An alchemist, Paracelsus, classed gnomes and sylphs as elementals, meaning magical entities who personify a particular force of nature and exert power over these forces. Folklore accounts have described fairies as spirits of the air. We're going to talk about some classifications of fairies. Let's jump over to the person who is a fairy and talk about
You got a guest?
well,
Jumping over to the
sort
person
of.
who is a fairy.
They also talk about demons, demoted angels, etc. Post-Christian ideology to fairy lore believe that the fae are magical creatures without souls, and because people believe that they had no doubt in their right minds that fae must be in the pay of the devil. One belief to this cause was that the children that Eve hid from Yahweh, so we get heavy into some Kabbalism with this one.
Yeah, my favorite.
Yeah, happened because she was embarrassed at the thought that she and Adam had made love very, very often.
Mm.
As punishment, Yahweh cursed her hidden children to be soulless creatures trapped between a mid-heaven hell purgatory until
Whoa.
the final judgment day, where they would be deemed hellbound for the rest of eternity.
That one sucks.
It totally does.
That one's bad and sucky.
But I mean, that does give credence to the hidden folk thing. The reason you can't see them is because God has cursed them not to be seen. She also talks about the ones that left for Earth, refusing to take sides in a war between Yahweh and Lucifer. Again, they will probably just be found guilty of and going to hell. Anyway, here's some classifications of fairies. We'll first sort of mention various folklorists have proposed classification systems. W.B. Yeats, of course, talked about trooping fairies are those who appear in groups and might form settlements, as opposed to solitary fairies who do not live or associate with others of their kind. In this context, the term fairy is usually held in a wider sense, including various similar beings, including dwarves, elves, and things of Germanic folklore. Scottish folklore has fairies divided into the Seelie court, which is more beneficently rather inclined but still dangerous, and the Unseelie court, which is the malicious fairies. The solitary fairies, you're going to get your banshees, your goblins, your hobgoblins. Same with the Unseelie court. Both courts enjoy playing harmless pranks on humans. The Unseelie court likes to play pranks that are a little more harmful, but they can both end up being dangerous if you end up offending them. Then we can go to the actual page for classifying fairies.
So where did that tradition come from?
That I'm not 100% sure. So the earliest classifications in the mid 13th century, Thomas of Cantimpré classified fairies into Neptuni of the water, Incubi who wandered the earth, Ducii under the earth, and Spiritualia Nequitae in Celestibus who
What?
inhabit the air. So we've
Whoa.
got water, earth, under earth, and air fairies, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Pokemon rules. That's easy to defeat, though. I understand how those can be defeated. Oh, but they're fairy too.
Yeah, they've got all kinds of stuff going on. Shortly afterward, another person, John Walsh of Devonshire in 1566, while on trial for witchcraft, of course, said that there were three kinds of fairies, white, green, and black.
Okay.
So sure, it's one of those two early adopted taxonomies, I suppose. So then we get to the Seelie and Unseelie courts. Notes that this may be the most famous division of fairies. The Seelie courts describe to comprise fairies that seek help from humans, warn those who've accidentally offended them, and return human kindness with favors of their own. And the Unseelie court is, like I said, they're the darkly inclined fairies. No offense is deemed necessary to bring down their assaults. In Scotland, they were seen as closely allied with the witches. Now, our pal over at Fairypedia, the person who is a fairy, has an entire section on the fairy courts. Once upon a time, there was just fairy with a fairy queen, and all inhabitants lived in this city of everlasting change. One could say that they were the original Seelie court. One day there was an uprising. Groups of fae no longer wanted to be part of the entirety of fairy. Fairy again being the land that they inhabit. They wanted to hold a hierarchy of their own, thus branching off from fairy. These fae were the beginning of the Unseelie court. I think monarchs are able to reign for 1,000 years. This time can be extended if the people of their court agree to their reign in fairy time, which we can also get to that later. That's wild. The winter court represents what people see as the malevolent side of the fae. The fae from this court frown upon humans. They're more inclined to talk about their open cruelty. This makes them look none other than evil, however one chooses to define evil. The winter court has free reign over winter solstice and autumn equinox months.
That's interesting. The however one chooses to define evil. That makes me think that it's like however they appear to you is based on your interpretation of them, which is like a crazy.
Well, I mean,
sense.
it does seem like the way that they're cruel is specific to you.
Oh, like to me, they'll just laugh at me. They'll point and laugh until I cry.
Yeah. The winter court has free reign over winter solstice and autumn equinox months and are strongest during that time. By and by, the fae of this court are sensible, chilled, dark, baleful, and what have you, the epitome of winter. Then we have the spring court. There's going to be a court for every season. Seen as the much calmer ones to the benevolence of the fae compared to summer. The fae of this court are generally polite and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. These fae are more apt to lure humans with sweet dew. or
Ooh.
mountain don't.
Sweet dew.
They also have blossoming curiosity. The spring court is strongest during the ends of winter and throughout the spring season, despite the summer court having rained. So the side ones, the autumn and the spring court, they exist, but they don't like control any of what happens in fairy during the months.
So you would
That's
be
always
so
summer
a,
and
f-
winter.
a fairy could be both Unseelie and Autumn Court.
I believe so, yes.
Hmm.
The Seelie court is associated with summer and spring.
Mhm.
Unseal is usually with autumn and winter, but I think that you could probably be part of any of them. Summer, of course, the most benevolent side of the Fae. The Fae of this court generally considered more polite and mannered, still very capable of cruelty, they're sure to point out, but more hush-hush and subtle about it. And then the autumn court, equally malevolent side of the Fae in comparison to winter, but much not as the equally malevolent side of Fae in comparison to winter, but much more middling. The Fae of this court are generally the ones doing the dirty work and trooping. However, these Fae can have much nicer sides than any of the Fae and return great favors. The autumn court is strongest during the ends of summer and throughout the autumn season. These Fae are strong, mystique, eerie, ravishing all the same, and devious. So I think this is kind of like if you're going to, say, summon a Fae to you, you're going to want to care about what time of the year it is, because that's going to probably determine the likelihood of getting someone who's going to trick you or tease you or
Summer
help you
only.
out.
And even then, watch yourself.
So, in a nutshell, the fairy courts are the paramount social structures of Fey society. The courts are very strong political allegiances that enforce their philosophy on existing members, recruit for new members, build armies, hold say in seasonal power, and blood nobility in an odd communist society only the nobles truly have.
Hmm.
There are, of course, those who
Sound
swear.
familiar?
Yeah.
Leftists.
There are those who swear no allegiance to any court, and they are known as solitary fae. Nowadays, solitaries are seen as having a neutral, balanced, or common ground between the courts, and they are also seen as some of the most dangerous. Living a life as a solitary can be simple and good in some respect, but because they've chosen to be cut off from the larger support network, social interaction with others is not as available. Even so, solitary fae can find means of interacting with others and can often be an intermediary for many purposes of fae and of earth. Solitaries are usually unpredictable and have been seen as the outcasts, either banished, choosing to leave, or just not choosing at all. And the quote, wild wee ones. There are not many that regret their decision of being courtless. That's sort of the way that the Fae society is dictated, is into these two courts, or rather four courts, but really just the summer and winter.
Wow.
And within those, the Seelie and Unseelie.
And this has just been like throughout the years, kind of
Theoretically, for
folklore
millennia
building on
ongoing.
folklore.
And this is just a broad stroke. You can go in deep, you said.
Oh, you can go so much deeper. And
I'm
actually,
excited for the future then.
yeah, I will just pack up mostly right now, but I do want to do this one thing because in my looking through all this stuff, I did stumble upon at spellsofmagic.com a spell to become a fairy.
Ooh.
All right. Well, we got to talk about that, but maybe
Yeah, we'll
next
end
time,
on
huh?
this.
Oh, well,
okay.
This will take like 2 seconds.
Okay, let's
well,
do it.
maybe. By the way, it's rated 5 out of 5 stars.
So it has to work.
So for this spell, you're going to need any candle, a bowl cup of water, grass from outside. Or I guess you have to be outside because it's got to be windy as well. You have to be alone. You need concentration, and you're going to need belief.
Oh, boy.
So step 1, gather what you need to be inside or outside, depending on, I guess, what kind of fairy you want to become. Sit down with the object and close your eyes. Step 3, imagine yourself flying with wings. Use your element/power, which will be mentioned later. And then step 4, say this spell 3 times and once for the end.
So 4 times?
Well, there's like a little
No,
rejoinder
Roger.
at the end.
3 times and once for the end.
This is why my desk keeps getting all walking instead of just staying still.
So this is the spell that will turn you into a fairy. Goddess of wind, goddess of earth, please make my desire come true. I wish to be a fairy. It's all caps. It says fairy.
Okay, so you're screaming it.
Yeah. To fly high and be truly free. This is my wish to be. My wings shall be, and then you give the size, like that of a, and then you give the type of wings. So my wings shall be
Enormous.
petite, like that of a Venus flytrap. I don't know. It's whatever you want, really. And then you give the color and the other color.
Parrot.
2 colors, blank and blank, are the colors chosen by I. As I say the words, and then you say your summoning words, my wings shall appear on my back. Once I say the words, these will be the disappearing words. So this is like you're just gonna build your own your flame on and flame off, basically.
Nice. And I see the character behind you has chosen weed.
Yes. I was trying to find one smoking a cigarette like out back of a diner or some shit, looking really haggard, but all the fairy pictures are just weed stuff.
Just hot weed at fairies.
Not surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Weed
fairies. Exactly.
So once I say the words flame off, my wings will be absent. I shall rule over the element, then choose your element with a special power of, and then any special power, but only one. It is a lot like rolling a Dungeons and Dragons character.
And as you level up, you get more feats, but you got to start with one.
My special power shall come in blank time that it comes, time. My wings in the time that they come, time. So I don't know, like 5:30 to 7 p.m. or something. Or just I guess a time of great despair. A quarter moon. Goddess of wind, goddess of earth, please bestow upon me what I desire. So there would be the coda. You do that 3 times, and then you do this just once at the end of the 3rd one. By the power of thee, so mote it be. And then you run into step 5 of this spell. Believe it will work, and be patient until your element / power and wings appear.
Whoa. Well, there you have it, folks. Let us know if anybody becomes a fairy because of this.
If you do, please use your fairy powers to help us at werewolfradar.com. Hit us up.
Check us out on X. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on friggin' patreon.com/werewolfradar. Check us out on Twitch. Check us out everywhere.
Yep, I got them shorts going up. People be liking them. They're all like,
what's going on?
That is how people laugh.
One of them actually did well.
Nice. All right. Well,
I forgot which one. Oh, the one about kangaroos.
Oh, okay.
People love a kangaroo.
Love a room.
We do good
jokes. With a flesh pocket.
Except for flesh pockets, weirdly. The microwavable lunch pocket from Monstroco.
All right, now let's do it because it is our 300th episode. I'm gonna do a super duper patrons shout out of everyone who's ever supported us, and I thank you all so much. Let's get going because it is a long list. I have Nick Bailey, Valerie Scott, Rod Mader. Had to click the page button. Linda Webb, Henry, Fabric Tattoos Embroidery, Body Storytelling, Ashley Lynn Meldrum, Jason Wardell, Gloria Gray, Spooky Appalachia, Phil Corridor, Michael King, Melinda Metz, Joseph Sterry, Janet Bravo, Dylan Gutierrez, Bob Ryan, AWOL51, Amanda, Tobias Livingston, Tobias Livingston twice, it turns out. The most well-prepared dead guy, Randy, I forgot his name, Randy Washington, Necrophil, Mr. Wolf, Marcelo Duran, Major Consequences, Lee Southwell, Kyle Burtman, Joey Lambchops, Jason Sweet, Hannah Taylor, Gloria Gray again, Elliot Broder, Alicia Coy, Cheesebot O'Doom, Adam Passion, Abby Kobu, Ryan Flint, Richard Carter, Liam Dole, Jessica, Jason Sweet, Jake Spectacurian Soldier, Dean Malik, Dakota Vincent, Brian Ely, Adric Hinkle, Scott Parr, and now Igandi Felix and our Dark Lord of the Bunker, Spectacular Copper. That was a longer list than I thought. Thank you all for
Thank you
supporting
all
us
so
through
much. Wow.
Patreon. It's been a
Incredible.
wild number of years. We're getting better. We're becoming a real show.
300 apps.
And I think it's because I am getting less high. I apologize, everyone.
But I'm getting more high.
And he's getting more high, so we're equaling
Yes,
out.
we're balancing.
I'm getting just high.
But we're doing new stuff on the YouTube. We're going to make those shows more visually appealing. The audio is getting better. We're giving you better stuff on the Patreon. Great extras. Thank you so much.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Thank you. Thank you.
The biggest
Thank you all.
smoochie.
The next
from us to
300
you, Jay.
episodes are going to be a little bit more bloody. We're going to accept Battle Royale rules now.
Yeah. A lot
yeah.
more high contact martial arts.
High contact podcasting.
We've platinumed this one so we can play Werewolf Radar Plus now.
Gladys.
All right, but that's my special list for the 300 episode. Thank you all.
Hell yeah.
Indeed.
That does it for another episode of Werewolf Radar. Until next time, as always, our sign-off line on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Punch the sky,
Spaceman Joe. Oh shit, wrong program.